In the next 18 seconds, every exposed terrace on this mountain will disappear. The swimming pool will sink beneath an armored deck. Glass railings will withdraw into the floor. Roof veins will fold into the stone, and 9 levels of open architecture will compress around one protected core. It is not closing for privacy. A superstorm has just changed direction. At 3,400 meters above sea level, a beautiful house can become a dangerous place very quickly. The air is thin. The temperature can collapse without warning. Lightning reaches the ridge before rain reaches the valley, and a blocked road can isolate the summit for days. This is Altitude 9, a fictional $900 million smart mansion built into a blade of black mountain rock. Its glass, titanium bronze, dark basalt, and warm cedar make it look exposed. That appearance is deliberate. Almost every survival mechanism is concealed until the house decides it is needed. Tonight, we are not touring its cinema, spa, or private gallery. We are putting the mansion through the event it was designed to survive. 9 hidden systems will have to predict the storm, change the building's shape, control lightning, protect the air, preserve heat, recover water, replace the grid, create an escape route, and finally, do something no ordinary home can do. But there is one question the owners were never meant to answer themselves. When the mountain becomes uninhabitable, should the house evacuate them or seal them inside? The storm is 18 minutes away. Altitude 9 has already begun to move. The first survival system does not wait for a forecast. It builds one. What appears to be a bronze line around each terrace is actually a chain of pressure, temperature, and ice sensors. Smaller instruments are embedded in the roof, the cliff, and the access road below. Together, they measure the weather at the mansion, not at an airport kilometers away. The facade itself is a local weather network. Below the entrance hall, Altitude 9 maintains a live model of the ridge, the building, and the air around both. It compares public radar with local pressure, watches ice form on individual panels, and recognizes wind patterns that create dangerous suction beneath the cantilevered floors. Tonight, the public forecast still shows the storm passing north. The mansion disagrees. A pressure drop appears below the western cliff. Upper wind turns against the valley flow, and the south facade cools faster than the surrounding air. Together, those changes mark a rotating cell climbing directly toward the house. The final reveal is the most important. This system converts prediction into decisions. Outdoor doors lock. Exterior lifts return to protected floors. The access tunnel warns the last vehicle below the summit. Every survival system receives its own countdown. The residents see one restrained message. Storm vector confirmed. No alarm sounds. No one touches a control panel. With 14 minutes remaining, Altitude 9 advances to Stage 1 and begins removing every shape the wind could tear away. Calm weather, Altitude 9 is designed as 9 glass terraces projecting from a single stone spine. In a storm, that profile is a liability. The second system changes the mansion's geometry before the first extreme gust arrives. Glass balustrades descend into heated floor channels. Dining platforms slide behind basalt walls. Outdoor kitchens and lighting rails rotate into sealed cavities, leaving nothing loose enough to become debris. Then the western infinity pool empties into an insulated reservoir inside the mountain. This reduces weight on the cantilever and preserves thousands of liters for the house. A segmented titanium cover locks across the basin like a structural brace. That is the first major transformation. Overhead, wide shade vanes separate into narrow sections and fold beneath the roof. Transparent windscreens rise between the remaining stone fins. They divide one violent airflow into smaller channels the structure can manage. Finally, 3 living levels retract nearly 2 meters toward the central spine. Rooms that felt suspended over the valley now sit behind deep stone shields. Furniture and partitions shift inward to preserve the occupied space. What disappears is the dangerous leverage beyond the mountain anchors. A test gust reaches the ridge at 110 kilometers per hour. The wind separates cleanly around the new tapered profile. Stage 1 is complete, but the storm has gained electrical energy, and the highest object on this ridge is now waiting for the first strike. The wind separates cleanly around the new tapered profile. Stage 1 is complete, but the storm has gained electrical energy, and the highest object on this ridge is now waiting for the first strike. Lightning protection usually begins with a rod and ends in the ground. Altitude 9 treats the entire mansion as one controlled path. Beneath the basalt cladding, a titanium bronze mesh crosses the roof, wraps each structural frame, and separates the glass terraces into isolated sections. It gives a strike a route that never passes through an occupied room. Retractable roof collectors rise only in storm mode. They do not invite lightning. They ensure that a strike meets a safer path than glass, plumbing, or data cable. That path divides. One channel enters deep conductive anchors. Another crosses the external shell and rejoins the mountain farther down the ridge. The house never forces all of that energy through one point. Inside the walls, surge gates disconnect sensitive rooms from exterior circuits. Decorative lighting goes dark for less than a heartbeat. Life support continues on isolated power. Then the western collector flashes. The strike crosses the roof mesh, divides around the atrium, and disappears into the rock. There are no sparks and no blackout. A thin amber line on the structural display traces the route the charge has taken. But the strike reveals a new problem. The collectors detect charged particles inside the incoming cloud. Its freezing layer will reach the air intakes earlier than expected. Altitude 9 has 9 minutes left. Before sealing completely, it must protect the one resource this mountain cannot provide in abundance: breathable air. this altitude, the mansion cannot treat ventilation as a collection of fans. Outside air contains less usable oxygen, carries ice during a storm, and changes pressure between opposite sides of the building. One intake would be a point of failure. Altitude 9 has 4. 2 face the valley. 2 sit inside protected channels on the sheltered ridge. The house closes any intake receiving ice or smoke and draws from the cleanest source. Heated separators remove ice, filters remove particles, and a molecular system gently enriches oxygen. The whole mansion is not pressurized equally. Bedrooms, the medical suite, and the central spine remain most stable. Social rooms operate lower, while unused terraces drift closer to exterior pressure. This protects people without wasting energy. Each bedroom also has an independent return path, sensors, and a door seal hidden in its frame. Smoke, broken glass, or contamination can be isolated without changing the air elsewhere. Now the western intake detects ice. Its shutters close. Airflow transfers inside the mountain, while a clean air reserve bridges the change. No gust enters the atrium. The mansion lowers the demand of empty rooms and redirects warm exhaust through a recovery chamber. That recovered heat will matter very soon. Outside temperature has fallen 14 degrees. The grid connection below the summit has stopped responding. Altitude 9 can now breathe alone. The next question is whether it can remain warm when the mountain turns every exterior surface into a heat sink. Warm cedar ceilings and dark stone floors make Altitude 9 feel calm. They are also part of its 5th survival system. Behind the basalt is a phase-changing layer. It stores surplus warmth, then releases it slowly when exterior temperatures fall. The walls become a thermal battery around each occupied level. Ground loops pass through rock, whose temperature changes far more slowly than the air. They cannot heat the mansion alone, but they provide a stable starting point below freezing. Heat from batteries, water treatment, refrigeration, and air equipment is also captured. Even air leaving a bedroom gives most of its energy to the clean air entering it. Then, the grid fails. There is no blackout. Altitude 9 disconnected before the damaged line could pull its internal network down. The thermal system responds as if the outage could last for days. The gallery cools first. The guest wing follows. Exterior heating shuts down except on the emergency route. Stored warmth is assigned by survival priority. The central living level changes by less than 1 degree. Wind-driven ice covers the glass. The outer pane becomes cold, while a conductive layer keeps the inner pane above the freezing point. The view stays clear without heating the entire facade. 5 systems are now active, and the mansion has lost the public grid. But heat, air, and emergency cooling depend on water. If it stops moving, the protected core will fail. Altitude 9 now turns to the storm itself and begins converting it into a reserve. high ridge, water can surround a house as snow and still be impossible to use. Altitude 9 solves that problem before anyone opens a tap. Every roof seam leads to a heated collection channel. Tonight, those channels warm only in pulses. Melting the whole roof would waste energy and release dangerous ice. So the house harvests narrow streams and leaves the remaining snow locked in place. Water enters 2 reservoirs inside the mountain. One holds drinking water. The other supplies fire protection, toilets, and the thermal system. A failure in one loop cannot contaminate the other. But the roof is only the visible source. Moisture from showers, sinks, and the air system is recovered. Warm exhaust condenses against a protected cold surface. Even the lowered pool has become a utility reserve for heat control or fire suppression. A gravity tank sits above the protected core. If every pump fails, it can still deliver drinking water and maintain essential pressure. Now ice blocks one roof channel. The house reverses a small amount of stored water through the channel, loosens the obstruction from below, then diverts the next melt stream. No person enters the storm. Sensors confirm its quality before minerals are restored for the drinking loop. Air, heat, and water can now continue behind sealed walls. But the mansion is on stored electricity, and the only summit road is blocked. The 7th system must decide which parts of altitude 9 are worth keeping alive. Backup generator waits for a failure. Altitude 9's microgrid plans around one. Dark photovoltaic layers inside the roof and south glass charge solid-state batteries in a fire-separated chamber. Under stable wind, shrouded turbines open inside the ridge spine. Tonight, they remain locked. The gusts are too violent to harvest safely. The house relies on stored electricity, captured heat, and a compact fuel cell reserve for prolonged isolation. Its intelligence lies in distribution. 3 electrical islands divide the mansion. The first supports air, water, medical equipment, and structural control. The second serves occupied rooms, food storage, and communications. The third carries everything non-essential. When the grid failed, the third island disappeared. Pools stopped, gallery lights dimmed, and empty lifts parked. The mansion stopped spending power where survival gained nothing. Then a battery module reports abnormal heat. Fireproof doors isolate the module. Cooling transfers to the utility water reserve, while the remaining batteries rebuild the network at lower capacity. The thermal core absorbs the unwanted heat. Power, water, and temperature are not separate utilities. Each can protect another. The storm is 3 minutes away. One variable remains outside the mansion's control: the mountain itself. Sensors beneath the western foundation detect movement in a fractured layer of rock. It is small, less than a few millimeters. If it continues, staying may become more dangerous than leaving. Behind an unmarked wall, the 8th system unlocks a route that does not appear on any public floor plan. concealed door is not in the garage, the entrance hall, or the owner's suite. It is behind the medical room, inside the most stable structural zone. The wall opens onto a pressurized chamber cut into the ridge. A narrow, inclined cabin can carry every resident, medical supplies, and several days of water. Its tunnel descends to a sheltered station below the summit weatherline. This is not an ordinary lift. Motors pull the cabin upward, but gravity can take it down. Mechanical governors control descent without electricity. A separate line carries communication, while independent cylinders maintain air if tunnel ventilation closes. The first compartment carries people. Beneath its floor, another compartment holds heat blankets, oxygen, water, and a rescue transmitter. Halfway down the tunnel, a refuge chamber provides shelter if rock blocks either end. Altitude 9 sends an empty test cabin into the descent. It passes 2 structural gates. Alignment sensors find no distortion. The lower station confirms a clear route. The house could evacuate everyone now. But the foundation movement has stopped. The rock was not sliding. A drainage channel beneath the western anchor had frozen, allowing pressure to build. The water system redirects a warm return line, and pressure falls. 2 correct choices now compete. Leave through a safe tunnel before the storm arrives, or remain inside a mansion whose 8 systems are still functioning. Altitude 9 recalls the empty cabin. The exterior vanishes behind ice. The final countdown reaches 0, and the 9th system takes control of every room at once. The 9th system is not another machine hidden beneath Altitude 9. It is the mansion's ability to become a different building. As the storm reaches the ridge, internal doors divide 9 levels into 3 protected zones. Furniture clears circulation paths. Floor lights guide residents toward the central spine. The outer rooms are not abandoned. They become buffers. Their pressure falls. Their heat returns to the core. Water drains from exposed walls, and circuits disconnect section by section. If glass fails, cold air meets another sealed room before reaching a person. Then the deepest transformation begins. The pool reservoir becomes a tuned liquid damper, resisting movement in the western structure. Thermal storage moves heat toward bedrooms and the medical suite. Gravity water, clean air, and primary batteries connect to one compact service loop. 8 separate systems have become one survival spine. The first full-force gust crosses the ridge. Wind passes around the tapered exterior. Lightning divides through the skin. Ice closes the last exposed intake, and clean air transfers inside the mountain. Altitude 9 disappears behind snow. Inside, the cedar ceiling is warm. Water pressure is stable. The final mechanical locks become audible in the silence. The mansion has not defeated the storm. It has removed almost everything the storm can attack. That is the secret behind its 9 systems. None matters because it adds luxury. Each becomes valuable when something is taken away. The view, the terrace, the grid, the road, or finally the freedom to leave. By morning, the storm has moved east. Altitude 9 reopens one verified zone at a time. Intakes clear, terraces extend. Pool water returns only after the western anchors pass inspection. The mountain looks unchanged. the house is not. Altitude 9 concealed 9 survival systems inside one mansion. The next property hides 100 systems inside its walls, floors, furniture, and architecture. Some never appeared on the official plan. Subscribe before the inspection begins. Next, we enter Nexus 1.